feel paralyzed. Now I know it's over. I see you passing by, hand in hand, with your perfect light. My body, a ghost town, feels like someone cut out my tongue. I didn't know my heart could die this young. Oh, now when I look in your eyes,
All right, we are going live, chat. Hopefully you guys can hear us and now see us with the brilliance of us now overpowering the screen, as you can see. Clearly, our sexuality is just too much for the pixels to handle.
We are literally generating cosmic rays right now.
Yeah.
Or we're in heaven, and this stream has ended us.
Yeah, our prayers to the glitch god may have failed last round.
Glitch camera 1.
Yeah. So we have good news and bad news. We've definitely, I believe, fixed the glitch cam. However, the sun is going down, and there are windows behind us. So we're going to try to power through this. But luckily, you don't have to look at us very much. You're going to be looking at the tables. So today, we have a really classic matchup, I would say, between the Deathwing Dark Angels and your good old Space Wolves, the Lion and the Wolf, as Trevi said. Get this over to Trevi also. So we are going to see what happens now with Armor Contempt when an unstoppable force hits a unmovable object. Because I'm pretty sure that's the best description of what we're about to see. So let's flip over. The players have already started deploying. Let's flip over and see what we've got. Right. So we see the players have definitely already mostly finished their deployment. We'll go over to lists real quick so we can start talking about what both players are bringing to the table. So I'll start with Deathwing because I know slightly more about Deathwing than Space Wolves. So we have Luke playing Deathwing. He's brought a Vanguard detachment with a Librarian and Terminator armor who knows Mindworm for the turn off. I believe it's turn off OBSEC is what Mindworm is, plus like 1 mortal wound. Aversion, and he is the Warlord, which I believe the Warlord trait looks like it's watched. We have a Deathwing Ancient for some banner auras. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the full 10-man Deathwing Terminator, all with Power Fist. We have another, it looks like, 10-man Deathwing Terminator squad, all with Power Fist. This one, Sergeant has, or no, they both are Watchers in the Dark. Then we have I think another 10-man Terminator with Lightning Claws, pair of Lightning Claws. Watcher in the Dark on all of the Sergeants. We have the Ravenwing Apothecary, who has brought the Selfless Healer Warlord trait. Then we have the Terminator Assault Squad, 10 Terminators with Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields. So, Trevi, I would venture to say this list lacks subtlety. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, they say when all you have is a Thunder Hammer, everything looks like a lightning nail. So there we go.
So we are going to get to see, now the reason this is more interesting than even when I think the Codex came out, we all know that the Inner Circle, I believe it is, has the permanent transhuman.
Yes.
Only gets wounded on 4s. Now with as we talked about, there's a lot of cover on here. Not that Space Wolves normally want to shoot, but there will be some shooting. Terminators with Armor Contempt in cover are just going to have a 2-up most of the time, even if they don't have a Storm Shield. And as we can notice by looking at this list, there are 0 Storm Shields, I believe. Oh, wait, no, there is on the Thunder Hammers. We have 30 guys with no Storm Shields.
Because you have to take
Because you have to. If he could just have a Thunder Hammer and no Storm Shield, I almost think he might.
Thunder Hammer Lightning Claw.
That would be good, too. They're good to go. Yep. Just text me who's going first. All right.
So this is a classic style of list that we've been seeing doing really well post Armor of Contempt change without the necessity to take those Storm Shields, because more often they're on a 1+ armor save, potentially in light cover. Even against AP3 attacks, they're still going to be saving on 3s. So you do not need the 4+ invulnerable save from a Storm Shield, generally speaking, regardless. Even if you do, you have that 5+ to fall back on. And we have a lot of really smart, I think, meta plays or meta picks here in this list in order to help shore up matchups like Tyranids. One of the picks that I love to see in Deathwing lists is Lazarus. He has a 6-inch aura of 5+ damage ignore against mortal wounds, so he allows you to shrug a ton of that damage from things like bombs and Maleceptor combos. Really good against in that Tyranid matchup.
Which I believe I accidentally skipped, but Lazarus is in this list.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I said that.
There he is.
Yeah.
We also have the Librarian and Terminator armor. It's a little bit more interesting to see him over Ezekiel. A lot of times you'll see Ezekiel in there because he has that native +1 to cast the Dark Angel Discipline spells, which is really good. But the Librarian and Terminator armor can also fulfill that role just fine. And having that Watched Warlord trait on him as well gives you that automatic infinite range deny, which means that if somebody's trying to set up a Maleceptor combo, or especially in a Tyranid matchup, they're trying to do an onslaught, advance and charge from on the other side of the table with a Neurothrope, it changes entirely how a Tyranid player has to play, because suddenly you can immediately just pop that power. So if they have advanced a Hive Tyrant or a big expensive monster up in your face, you say you can't advance and charge, you just stand there and do nothing, and then you get charged by a bunch of Terminators all re-rolling to wound against monsters in the Assault Doctrine. Yeah. They will murder some big bugs. You do not want to get
caught with anything hanging in the wind in that situation.
Absolutely. And so with that Armor of Contempt buffed up on those guys, we've been seeing these Dark Angel lists do really well recently, and it's been interesting because that was, I think, a list that was pretty memey in the past. Those Dark Angel lists.
I've played against 30 Terminators before, 30 Deathwing Terminators before, like back when I was playing Necrons and things. And it seemed very unimpressive to me, the ability you could just run up there and move block. They can't do stuff. You couldn't kill them easily then.
Right.
It's not easier now.
Right.
So this is definitely the ultimate or attempt at immovable object by Space Marines, I think.
Absolutely.
So our Deathwing player is going first, but luckily all they're really going to get to do is advance and try to run into the middle of the table. So we have time to talk about Space Wolves.
Let's talk about some Space Wolves. Right. This list is spicy as heck, chat. This is a Space Wolf successor. It's taking Born Heroes, Whirlwind of Rage. So it's doing the Space Wolf impression as a successor chapter. So instead of getting the +1 to hit and automatic heroic intervention on the army, you get the +1 to hit from Born Heroes, but you also explode 6s with Whirlwind of Rage. So you don't have the same level of fight phase manipulation, but you just deal 20% more damage, which is pretty okay.
Apparently, 20% is more than 0%.
It's more than 0. That's true. And it stacks with the Space Wolf Super Doctrine. So they're 6s to hit once they hit Assault Doctrine or are targeted by any of the Assault phase switching effects. Will Tesla, so 2 additional hits for every 6 that they roll. And with that +1 to hit, especially with a lot of reroll effects, you can just be fishing for 6s and trying to multiply your big smacks as much as possible. In this list, we have Inquisitor Kyria Draxus, who I love to see on the table because her model is so cool. She has a dragon, and that's awesome.
Oh, that's always great.
I don't see what psychic power she has here, so that's a little awkward.
I'm sure we can follow up with that in a moment.
But just to give the army a little bit of additional psychic phase interaction, so you can take secondaries like Psychic Interrogation if you want to. You can also defend against those secondaries pretty efficiently. She's going to be taken alongside an Inquisitor or a Librarian, in Phobos armor. But the other thing that Kyria Draxus brings in, which I always forget about, are her grenades. She brings paralysis grenades, which are an offensive fight last. So if she charges you, you fight last, which means in a melee army like this, not only is she bringing that psychic defense, but she also can reinforce that fight phase manipulation that Space Wolves are already so good at. So, super smart pick for Kyria Draxus, and I'm excited to see her every time I see her on the table. But again, she's being followed up by a Librarian in Phobos armor, so a Librarian that can forward deploy. That guy's bringing Murderous Hurricane, as well as Stormcaller, so we're going to be buffing up defensively everything in an aura around the caster. A Primaris Chaplain on a bike. This guy upgraded to a Master of Sanctity. He's taking Litany of Faith, so again, another access to 5+ against mortal wounds, which is pretty solid. I believe we're also taking Catechism of Fire with him. I believe that the game plan here, I guess he's just going to be super duper tanky because we do have Resolve of the Bear as well. So a damage ignore, and once he successfully passes a save, he pulses that damage ignore out into an aura for the remainder of the game because he has achieved his saga, and he's taking the Armor of Russ. So no Wise Orator on that guy, which means that he does He doesn't get that bonus to get, or he doesn't get the second litany, but he does have Armor of Rust, so he has another fight last effect. So he can pick something in engagement range to force it to fight last. So we have two fight lasts.
Space Wolves seem to just have it in spades.
They have it all over the place.
Their choice of ways they can take it.
Yeah, absolutely, it's everywhere for them.
Because I may have misread. For some reason, I thought I saw a Whirlwind, but I may be thinking about a different list. Because that would be a whole other fight last, but I don't think that's in here.
No Whirlwinds, I don't believe.
I must be thinking.
But yeah, they
else.
could also take a Whirlwind.
Yeah, they have lots of. There's Judicars, there's all kinds of. They do whatever.
Yeah, you could have a Judiciary. The Judiciary is even great as well because he has access to that 6-inch heroic intervention from the Space Wolf stratagem. So he can force out his fight last effect even farther. Yeah, that's definitely the name of the game for Space Wolves. We also bring 3 units of Blood Claws, just stock standard Blood Claws. They have a bunch of attacks in melee, and they're 18-point troops models. They're just a fine unit. 1 Aggressor Squad, 5 Aggressors with Flamestorm Gauntlets. I like this pick.
I love Aggressors. They're my favorite unit.
I guess Flamey Boys to do some flamethrower in. That's pretty sweet. We also have a Centurion Assault Squad. Really leaning into this Armor of Contempt buff. I know Centurions got a big glow up with that Armor of Contempt for the same reason the Terminators did. You go to a 1+ armor save. You don't care about AP 1 anymore at all. You never cared about AP 0, so you're 2+ against the vast majority of guns in the game. Those guys bringing 1 set of assault launchers, everybody with flamers on them. Now we have 3 units of 5 Wolfen, so I know there's going to be some people in chat who this list is their absolute favorite. Those guys bringing mostly Thunderhammer Storm Shield, interestingly, which gives them that pretty sweet 4+ invulnerable save. But again, they aren't going to benefit from Armor of Contempt as soon as they take that. So against low AP stuff, it's not going to be quite as efficient. That said, we're fighting against a bunch of Thunderhammers, so 4+ invulnerable save, going to be pretty clutch. In addition, that Fight on Death, also good. They're very good at trading with enemy units, especially aggressive enemy units, because they can sit on an objective. If you have to go up and kill them to take the objective, they will also kill you, and then no one has the objective because everyone's dead. We also have, I think, probably the spiciest pick in this entire list, a 10-man unit of Hounds of Morkai, which I've never seen on the table. So I had to go look up their data sheet and remind myself what they do.
Those are the anti-psychic Reavers.
Yes,
right?
yeah. So they are Reavers, and they outflank. They also can only be selected as a target of psychic powers if they are the closest unit to the Psyker. So basically everything sort of smites against them. Basically, they give you -1 to cast within 6 inches, within 18 inches, excuse me, and -2 to cast within 6. So if they're getting up in the face of a Maleceptor, for example, they're going to be really ruining their chances to get off your powers in a big way. And in addition, they ignore mortal wounds in the psychic phase on a 4+. Not to mention the fact that they get +1 to hit and wound against Psychers and ignore Lookouts against Psychers.
I feel like someone
Sensing
wanted
a
to bring
theme.
something to help against Psychers.
I wonder if someone wanted to kill Maleceptors really hard.
Hey, that's an interesting tech pick for sure.
It's super interesting.
If you want to play Space Wolves, your options are limited to what your Space Wolves have, and that's an on-theme Space Wolf unit for sure.
Absolutely. We do have a 10-man, so we can split them into 2 5s if we want to with combat squads.
Draxus says Terrify.
Terrify. All right. Sick. They're pretty effective combatants as well. With that +1 to hit and wound against Psychers, if it comes up, they do have 3 base attacks +1 for Shock Assault, so 4 base attacks on the base models in the unit, 5 on the Sergeant, and they have an AP2 bolt pistol as well. So I don't know. They're packing a punch. They're a little expensive. Downside of them is that they are elites, not troops. So unlike a lot of the other Phobos units, they will not be able to get that objective secured. We also don't have a Rites of War in the list, I don't believe. So no objective secure auras. But on the flip side, they are Reaver keyworded, so they can remove objective secured from enemies. So actually, in a matchup where everyone's objective secured because you're playing against Deathwing, they basically are.
Yeah. So a quick note. I know we have a few more units. The Dark Angels did fail their psychic secondary on the first turn. It was denied. As we were talking about, the Space Wolves have a bunch of they don't like psychers.
They
They happen to
they
deny
hate
a
it.
psychic secondary.
Amazing.
So all right.
What is the psychic? What is the secondary?
So we have
Warp Ritual.
Warp Ritual. Which
That
was
is
denied. That's a
wow.
interesting choice.
The brass balls on this Deathwing player to look at a list playing 10 Hounds of Mordecai and say, I'm a ritual into that. -2 to cast, I'll pass it. Don't worry. Incredible. To round out the rest of this Space Wolf list, we have 1 Cyber Wolf, 2 Landspeeder Storms, just some really good efficient units for screening out enemies and taking table quarters and things like that, scoring Warrior Pride potentially, as well as the second spicy pick here, 1 unit of 5 Thunderwolf Cavalry.
Now, Trevi.
Yes.
When I was getting into competitive 40K back at the beginning of the pandemic, I remember a rant about Thunderwolf Cavalry and your feelings on them.
Yes.
Would you like to share with any of the audience who may not be familiar with your opinions on Thunderwolf Cavalry?
Well, let me tell you about Thunderwolf Cavalry, is that someone forgot to put the infantry keyword on them because they don't go through walls, which means a lot of the times they're significantly less maneuverable than other units.
All right,
that said,
we've got to stop talking about
they are ramming directly in there today.
So we have fixed the glitch cam.
Glitch cam,
go! Time to see stuff in the middle of the table.
Yeah, look at that.
So
Gorgeous.
we had the I think it was the who's on the bike? The chaplain on the bike.
Chaplain
has
on the bike.
gone around the side of the obscuring ruins. I need to turn down my gain because I'm getting excited at all the action. I don't want to blow out anyone's eardrums, so I'm turning down a gain, guys. Let us know how it sounds. The chaplain has gone around the ruins, and the Thunderwolf Cavalry have gone through them, in between the gap in the middle.
Yes.
To charge through. So we have a turn 1 charge into the immovable object, and I think we're about to see how immovable it may be.
Incredible.
This is this is what you bring Thunderwolf Cavalry to do.
Absolutely.
You don't bring them because you want to charge something on turn 4.
Yes.
So
yes.
Whether or not it works is irrelevant. This is why they're here.
Here we go.
This is what we're doing.
We all in, boys. So yeah, they are kitted out. We have a Lightning Claw on the pack leader, Storm Shields on everyone. Actually, Lightning Claw, Storm Shield on everyone. So just a bunch of Lightning Claws, and that is a weapon that you do want to have into these Deathwing Terminators, because if you're swinging a Thunderhammer into them, it's only AP2, maybe it's AP3 sometimes. Like we just talked about, they're going to ignore a vast majority of that AP, and your Strength 8's doing nothing because you're only ever wounding them on 4s. Yep. Those Lightning Claws are a high volume of attacks.
Reroll the wounds, most powerful thing.
Rerolling that wounds, massive numbers of attacks, and especially with that test-laying 6s potentially, which I assume that we see go off on these guys as soon as they want to get stuck in. We use this adaptive tactics stratagem to put them in Assault Doctrine and just ram them in there.
All right, so we already have action. The stratagems are flying. Turn 1, here we go. Chaplain used the Pack Killer strat to try to set up the gaggle of combat, and then a Dark Angels player responded with only first rank can fight, which is going to take out a number of those Thunderwolf. Not all of them, but a number of them for sure.
Yep. Yeah, that's a really good sleeper stratagem. I actually was wondering if that was going to come into play this game. Usually much better against big hordes of enemies, but in this situation, every Thunderwolf that you're clipping out from attacking you is like 7 attacks that aren't going to be hitting you. And especially with those rerolls, that's going to be a very big deal. That could potentially be a Terminator that survives that attack.
All right, we're going to get the update on how the dice are rolling here, as there's going to be a lot of dice to roll very quickly. This is what I want to see in a tournament, though. I want action on turn 1.
Absolutely.
We have 2 people who I don't need guns.
Yeah.
It's fine, as long as we got action on turn 1.
Guns
and we
are
have facilitated that.
Guns can't even kill Dark Angels Terminator, like Deathwing Terminators, so why even take them?
Yeah. All right, Homeless Pope. There is another game being streamed. We have Sisters versus Death Guard on the War Live game stream right now. Please go check them out on YouTube. I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with them. They've been doing a great job the last 6 to 8 months. They've really been taking the tournament scene by storm almost, traveling the country every week. Love to watch them. So if you would like to see Sisters versus Death Guard, they are on the War Games live stream right now. And chat, I'm fiddling with the mic. Please let me know if anything sounds too loud, too quiet, anything like that.
And let us know who you're rooting for in this this classic duel between the Lion and the Wolf here. One of these 2 armies is going to suffer a wound at the start of the game, but get +1 strength and attacks. Is that what that stratagem used to do? I don't think it exists anymore. We got to go to the archive, I think.
I feel like there's still something this Lion and the Wolf, but I don't know what it does. I think it's a Space Wolf thing.
I know. I used to be. I used to get very excited about it because it was a. Oh, I think we're moving stuff. Can we go to the top down camera again, real quick? There was a very competitive mixed Astartes list that ran a core of. I think it was a core of Space Wolves and backed them up with Dark Angels, Talon Masters, and you could use Lion and the Wolf to buff your characters at the start of the game. And using that list, that was when Ragnar Blackmane was the most efficient character in the game. And it's a Crusade
it's
thing
now.
now.
Crusade thing, yeah. Sad. Yeah, I think Seabiscuit or the Biscuit Script Nibbler, sorry, is sharing with our sadness.
+1 hit and wounds against Dark Angels. Oh my god!
But not in this game, unfortunately.
No, not today.
But they would love to have it.
That was one of my favorite things because every time those little fluff stratagems come into play in a big way
Yeah.
competitively, I get very excited about that because it's very cool.
The only time back when I was playing in some of your events, beginning of pandemic, before we got everything rotated out, only time I ever got to use the Blood Angels Black Legion strat, where you get exploding fours. I got to do that at one of your events with Sandwich, and let me tell you, that was spicy.
Yeah, we had for a hot minute. There were Magnus the Red lists that were sort of running rampant, and people were sneaking in Space Wolves detachments because they also got basically the same stratagem against Thousand Suns. Yeah. And so you'd see a Smash Captain go knock Magnus's head off every game. It was wild times back with those 8th edition codexes. But now we're in a 9th edition codex game, and we are watching these Dark Angels and these Space Wolves duke it out in the center of the table.
All right, so interesting detail. The Lightning Claws that we were hyping did 3 wounds total. The Wolves themselves did 5.
Whoa! All right. Calm down, dogs. Yeah. Dang.
So now we're into the Chaplain attacking. That was not the outcome I would have predicted,
yes,
to say the least.
Absolutely. So what buffs are active on the Chaplain right now?
So we have the Pack Killer strat was played.
And to be clear, chat, the Chaplain's going to be in there to stop he feels safer committing because he can't be interrupted on because he can make the Dark Angels fight last.
Okay, so the Pack Killer was giving the Thunderwolves an additional dice on charge.
Yeah.
Drop the lowest. Okay. So no buffs were up on the Chaplain, and all the damage from the Chaplain was saved.
No relic weapon on that guy. He doesn't hit that hard. He's only AP1 base, so he's probably going to bounce.
All right. So Terminators are popping Fury of the First.
It's a +1 to hit.
Yep. Oh my god!
And it looks like this is this is a big mixed unit of Terminators. It looks like getting stuck in. We'll see how well these Thunderwolves can survive. I have a sneaking suspicion that they're going to prove less tanky than the Terminators.
Yeah, I feel like that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
I don't think the Thunder armor or the Terminator armor is supported by the skeletal structure of the Fenris Wolves.
Right, it's true.
That's I mean they are basically dreadnoughts.
Right.
So
but what we should do is put the Wolves in Terminator armor.
Why have the Space Wolves not thought of that yet?
I know, right?
That seems so Space Wolfy.
It's
All right. So they attacked the Chaplain. Chaplain popped Transhuman and no rerolls because of the Warlord trait. So everybody just bounced here.
Incredible.
We lost. Well, that's not fair. We lost almost 3 Terminators. We lost 2.2 Terminator, or 2.7 Terminators.
Yep.
But that's a relative bounce because they're about to come back to life.
Right. And to be fair, you do have to be eating damage on that biker Chaplain and having him save it is a big deal in this situation because if he does survive this turn, and it looks like he is, then he does pulse that out into that aura that is going to affect the Thunderwolves for the subsequent turn as well. So if those Thunderwolves also survive, they're going to be that much harder to kill on the swing back. And hopefully the Space Wolves can sort of orient that into leverage that into a win in the center. Now, Dark Angels are one of the toughest armies to fight in a straight-up fight because they deal so much damage and they are so resilient. Downside of them is that they are very slow. But we are playing on the Scouring today, which is one of the missions that favors that fight in the center more than almost anything else.
All right, so there's nothing in reserves. The chaplain did end up taking some damage. He has 4 wounds left, but 4 is more than 0.
That's true.
So.
I have heard that. I wasn't ever good at the school, but
Well,
I did learn that one number.
For our viewers at home, and just so you know, Trevi, I am a math teacher.
Oh.
So I do know that 4 is greater than 0.
Okay,
so
that's good. I'll take your
I can
word for
confirm
it.
that. Yeah. All right. So this was a big old pile. If we transition for a moment, there's been a bunch of attacking, and there's still a lot of stuff in the middle of the table.
Yeah, this has been shockingly inactive in the middle there.
Yeah.
But this isn't really the fight that Space Wolves want to be creating, though. What they want to do is be able to hit these Deathwing units that are exposed and remove them, and then be able to reposition. Because Space Wolves are at least a little bit more maneuverable than the Deathwing in this situation. The downside here is that it looks like this will turn into a big slog in the center, and that's going to be very difficult for 30 Deathwing Terminators to lose. That said, we have all those fight last effects on the Space Wolf side of the table, which means they're going to be getting hit that much more often than the Space Wolf units, and if they can't get rid of that biker immediately, things are going to go really downhill for them.
The Space Wolves have brought as many tools as you could really hope for a melee match in the middle between the fight last, and if you're being transhuman, then getting a bunch of extra attacks that's going to help out. So it doesn't automatically offset the permanent transhuman that he's fighting into, but he's going to have a lot more attacks that he gets to put into than the average player who doesn't have exploding sixes, of course.
Yep.
All right, Homeless Pope. Yeah, we are trying. I'll be honest. War Games Live and us are both trying to avoid Tyranids until tomorrow, where it becomes inevitable. So the focus on day 1 of the GT is always love to see some interesting new things you don't get to see all the time. Both these armies have a lot of hype right now after the Armor of Contempt update. So seeing a lot more people playing these than we were a month ago. So it's very interesting. Very interesting day 1 always, just to get to see what else is out there. There will be Tyranids on stream tomorrow, Trevi, I promise you. I know you're probably missing your Tyranids. But there will be Tyranids tomorrow, I assure you.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get them.
Yeah. All right.
I believe.
Go back over to the overhead for a minute. Let you guys see what else is happening on the table. So we didn't that turn happened so fast. We didn't get to talk about secondaries.
No.
So we should probably at least take a moment to talk about secondaries. We did mention that Dark Angels did take Warp Ritual with the Librarian. They have the 1 Psyker, Librarian, and Terminator armor. They have the classic, you always take this as a Dark Angels player, Stubborn Defiance, where if they can pick a objective and stay on it the entire game, they'll just get 15 points. If you can never take them off of it, they'll get 15 points. Space Wolves are going to try their hardest, but not easy to do to dislodge a stubborn group of Terminators that don't want to go anywhere.
Yep.
And then finally we have, shockingly, to the last, because apparently when you bring a bunch of durable Terminators that cost most of your points, you just kind of bank on them surviving.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
All right. Space Wolves, we have Warrior's Pride, which I believe is you get more points the more things you charge and kill in the melee phase.
Yeah, it's at the end of your turn have either completed 2 charges or have 2 units engaged or some combination thereof to get 3 points at the end of the turn. Honestly, it's one of the best secondaries in the game. Yep. It's so easy. I mean, as we saw here, right? The Space Wolf player just did Space Wolf things and scored 3 points for free.
Those are always the secondaries you want. Is when
Absolutely.
Your normal game plan just gives you free points.
And especially since it doesn't care what's completed a charge. So you can complete Warrior Pride with things like Storm Speeders, with things like Cyber Wolves, with your random little troops units. Anything counts for Warrior Pride, which means it's super easy to score.
Yep. We also have Engage on all fronts, which They got on the first turn. They have those speeders, as you mentioned, the Cyber Wolves. Yep. They have all these little nonsense things that the Dark Angel player can't really afford to focus on right away because they have other things to deal with at the moment.
It's not like the Dark Angels have, a big gun in the back that's just going to be picking those units up for exposing themselves.
This is where, now, Death or Glory obviously is captained by Tom Ogden. Tom Ogden made famous for a while the Dark Angels list that did really well around the time of, I think, Atlantic City Open last year. And he did, he liked to do the fast things, and he had some Terminators, doing their Terminator life. But he really was hyping, back then at least, the Talon Masters just as like a nice downfield threat. It can pick off the nonsense threat that you don't want to devote all your resources to. This is the weakness of obviously when you go all in on the Terminator pie.
Right.
There's not a lot of downfield resources that you can afford to spare.
Yeah.
That you don't bring a list like this to an event like this without knowing that's a weakness
Right.
and having a plan for it when it comes up.
Absolutely, yeah. And oftentimes the plan is, as I think befits a Dark Angel's army, is just to dig in with some grim determination and survive, and score your stubborn defiance and score your stranglehold, and bleed your army dry to your opponent's guns. But as long as you don't die until the end of the game, you get all those points and the game is yours.
Yep. We also have Raise the Banners, which is a little aggressive on the Scouring, I think, where all the objectives are a little more crammed in the middle. But we talked about the other side is entirely Terminators. They're not going anywhere quickly.
Yeah.
So you can at least get your 2 probably, and then if you want to just start trying to move block them, you'll have some time. You could get points that way. 15, I don't know. We'll see. But you can probably reliably get at least 8 to 10, realistically.
Yeah, and especially, like you said, it is all Terminators. That means the army is slow. It doesn't move very fast. And given the combination of U.S. open terrain plus the Scouring mission, you have 2 objectives in your deployment zone that are entirely enclosed, so that you can potentially be screening out easy charges on those into those objectives. You can have multiple model units on that objective to try to hold it down for longer, and you can make it very difficult for the Dark Angels player to remove those banners early in the game. So I absolutely don't hate the banners pick at all. It's probably only going to score 10 and no more, but it's a pretty consistent 10.
10 is fine.
Yeah.
I agree with 10 being like probably the ceiling, but if that's all you need to win a game, that's whatever. Doesn't matter at all.
What I absolutely love here is that the Space Wolf player didn't slam dunk the stranglehold on this mission. That's so often the case where you see 5 objectives, there's 2 in your deployment zone, 1 in the middle, you're like, okay, I have to hold my 2, that's easy, I have to score 1, then I'll get stranglehold, and that's 3 points. Except that you have to, when you're picking your secondaries, also consider the matchup that you're playing into, and you're playing into probably the best army at holding that center objective in the entire game. And so if your game plan is to fight them on that objective, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So I love that we see this Engage in All Fronts pick here. It shows that this Space Wolves player is going to be playing a cagier game, a more maneuver-focused game, and that is absolutely how you beat Dark Angels Terminators every time.
Yeah. They are, honestly, I would say most people who have a lot of success against Dark Angels Terminators don't usually even need to kill them.
Right.
Your game plan involves killing them as little as necessary because you don't want the dice to have anything to do with your ability to score points in that matchup.
Yep. That's absolutely correct.
Okay. So, looks like we've got a big pile of dice about to be rolled. I'm going to imagine these are some Storm Bolters. Oh. We'll double check. Oh, I do have an update for you that I didn't get to tell you yet, though. Librarian in Terminator armor attempted the warp ritual and was denied a second time.
I'm going to be honest, I'm not surprised. I think that the Dark Angel secondaries are so strong, especially we have that stubborn defiance, we have that to the last. It's going to force the Space Wolf player to come out of their comfort zone and engage into these Terminators, which is not something he's going to do, and not something he's particularly good at. Just moving all that terrain around over there. Which means that those are pretty likely to score at least 10, if not the full 15. I'm shocked that we have this warp ritual here. I think that honestly, I mean, maybe it turns around in the late game. I think it's just a bad pick, though. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know what category Stubborn Defiance is in.
I think it's in the Battlefield Supremacy.
It's not a Shadow Op for sure.
No, yeah.
Okay.
But honestly, I think you could take banners.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I think both of us feel confident that both players could probably get close to a 10, if not a 10.
Yep.
The way this game's going to play out, so it just seems a little unusual.
Yeah, it definitely seems like we're going to... I imagine that there's a Hounds of Mordecai combat squad inside one of those ruins, so its 18-inch aura is entirely encompassing the center zone, so you're going to be -1 to cast, and potentially, walking into a Psychic Hood and multiple denies on your opponent's side, so you're going to... Not only is that -1 to cast going to make it harder for you to get the warp charge of the ritual off, which isn't that hard to be honest, but it also makes you easier to deny, which means your opponent has a much greater than 50% chance to win that coin flip, essentially. And at least one turn, I imagine those Hounds of Mordecai are going to have to commit, and they're going to force a -2 on you, and it's very unlikely you get it off that turn.
Well, you mentioned how you had to go look up the Hounds of Mordecai. I had a relative idea. I knew they were anti-psyker. I didn't know any of the rules. I knew they were anti-psyker. they are not a unit that anyone could probably say they have seen frequently. And so part of me has to wonder that, is it possible that our Dark Angels player, when he looked at the list and picked the secondaries, may not have understood
Yeah, maybe just missed
what
him.
was over there.
Yeah. Yeah, potentially. And especially, I mean, an army like Dark Angels, it is, I don't want to say like one note, but it is very consistent in its game plan.
Yeah.
And if
does
you've
one
built
thing
your
very
army around, completing a psychic action at the center of the table every turn, moving away from that game plan is gonna be a little bit tough.
All right, so that large pile of dice was apparently the Thunderwolf Cavalry taking 30 wounds, or 30. Yeah, they had to make 30 saves.
Wow. All right. Well, that's awkward. It looks
feel
like
like-
there's significantly less than
Yep,
Thunderwolf Cavalry now.
Let's go check, guys. Let's see. Are the wolves still there? Not as many.
Looks like 2 of them went down.
Yep.
Starting to get wraps from the Terminators. Ooh, that's not what you want.
Now, I feel like it may be less terrifying than in some other matches for the Space Wolves player to let their stuff get wrapped, because it's not like they really wanted to shoot the Terminator a lot anyway.
It's true. Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure they would love to take whatever shots they can, but there's not
Right.
a lot over there.
But you're also losing the ability to fall back, and that's going to allow the Terminators to kill you on your own turn and then get that consolidation move closer to your other models before they then activate in the movement phase and get even closer for a big charge. If they can use that movement to springboard into the ruins on the Space Wolves player side of the table, this game is going to be very short.
Yes. It's easy. Let me quote, air quotes, easy. It's easy to stop Dark Angels players from going where they want to often, because you just throw nonsense in front of them. If they can go where they want to, we've already alluded to, they're not easy to shift.
Right.
And if you let them somewhere they're not supposed to be, they're not any easier to shift.
Yep. Oh, we didn't take the Saga of the Bear damage ignore rolls, it sounds like. Might be going...
Yeah, so
Going back a little
we
bit,
forgot
okay.
to feel a pain, and players being good sports, letting them go back and retroactively roll those to determine how much damage should have happened, so we have brought one back.
Yeah, that one's an easy rollback for sure. We're still basically in the same attack step.
Now, I alluded to this earlier. We had a little bit of conversation about it. Marines got better with Armor of Contempt.
Mm-hmm.
They did not get better at killing each other. It appears.
Right. In fact, they may have gotten worse. They did. They got significantly worse, I think, actually.
This is definitely the definition of a bounce, I think.
Yeah.
This is not going to end in 2 turns either. This is going to probably spiral into a, short of the Space Wolves adding more to the pot, this is going to be a 3-turn combat.
Yep. Frostbite with the tier 1 resub.
Thank you, Frostbite. How you doing?
Thanks
Hope you're
for supporting.
enjoying let's be honest, it's 3 days of Trevi plus 40k. That's really where we're at now. You get to listen to Trevi explain 40k to me, and then you guys also can learn from that if you know less than or the same amount that I do or less.
I will attempt to explain 40k. I make no claims about the accuracy. We'll see how it goes. But if anybody wants to is enjoying the coverage and wants to support the channel, go ahead and drop a sub, maybe a cheer. If you haven't followed yet, please follow.
All right, let's move back over.
Or if you're over on YouTube, you could subscribe.
Yes,
even.
we are. I will be very upfront. We are definitely going to be, I think, moving most of our content to YouTube in the not very distant future. So definitely go check out our YouTube channel if you have not been over there yet.
So do you have a link for the YouTube channel for the people in the Twitch chats?
I can make one.
I bet we can. I bet we could throw a command up in there. Maybe a nice timer.
I may have added it earlier. Let me double check.
Nice.
Let's see. Add a command.
Well, it looks like very slowly but surely, a couple of wins getting dealt to these big Terminator bricks. I love that it's just like basically a wave, a cresting wave of bleached bone Terminators crashing over these poor, forlorn Thunderwolf cavalry trying their best to survive. Biscuit Nibbler with the sub as well.
All right.
Ooh.
I'm trying things, guys.
Just
I'm
a couple more. We hype trained it up.
Oh, we've hype trained. Oh my! This is
almost.
This may be if
We're
it goes
there.
off. If it goes off, that would be the first Death or Glory hype.
Oh,
train,
chat! It's up to you. Can we make it happen? Can we hype train for the Lion and the Wolf? Let's get it done. Perfect. There's a YouTube link for everybody. Don't leave too soon though, because we want to get that hype train going.
Yeah, we gotta hype up this glorious melee combat.
It is a glorious melee combat, and this glorious melee combat will be going for a while. It seems like.
Well, I mean, we do know there's more Space Wolf stuff in the back, and they don't tickle.
It's
So,
true. They're not here to play.
I don't think that we're going to be holding much back on the next turn. I feel like things that can charge are going to be charging. So
Frostbite gifting a sub as well.
Thank you so much,
78.
Frostbite.
Congratulations for the tier 1 sub.
So I'm interested. We mentioned let's pull the list back up. I know we have Wolfen. We have 3 5-man Wolfen.
Yes.
I feel like they might be getting the itch. They want to.
Well, those are the fleas. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are excited to get in. They're chomping at the bit over here to get stuck in. Nurgle Matthew getting a sub too from Frostbite. Frostbite's just
doling it out.
Donoing over here all day. Nurgle Matthew, congratulations on getting that.
I don't know if I noticed it, but Biscuit Nibbler had subscribed also, so thank you for that, if I didn't say anything. All right, let's go back to our tail boss, see what's going on. So Chaplain is now going into the Termies. So, the Thunderwolf Cavalry killed 3 Termies, getting to go first because of the Belt of Russ.
These Thunderwolf Cavalry have killed 6 Terminators so far. That's a lot.
The Chaplain is going into Lazarus.
Okay,
he's got
his
target.
Yeah. Yep. Those Terminators are going to bounce that little Crozius all day, but Lazarus, I believe, only has a 3+ armor save. He's just got power armor. I'm so glad we're seeing Lazarus back on the table because he was a bit of an odd duck when he released, given that he was...
Was he the one that got the new Primaris upgrade?
Well, he wasn't a character before, to my knowledge.
Okay.
He just came out as a Primaris character, and he was just a guy. But he got a data sheet with a very cool, very specific ability, which is that 5+ damage ignore, and it's very useful in some metas, and this is one of them. He's also interestingly, it's not. I don't know if it's going to matter here. His weapon doubles damage against Psychers. 4 damage. 4 damage. That guy. What a boss.
Well, I guess Kira better stay away from him.
Yeah, he will one-shot that lady so hard.
All right. So we had 2 Thunderhammer Terminies going to a Chaplain, 5 are going into the Thunderwolf Cavalry. We're rolling that out right now. That looks like a Chaplain.
Oh, no. Chappie, no. Not like this. That's to be expected, I think, though.
The Chaplain, I guess it technically did his job. It did a fight last where we got to kill some Terminators, but I don't think he wanted it going away right now.
Yeah. Now, do we know what the Chaplain prayed the turn that he charged?
Let's see. Well, I guess he can switch to anything, right? So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if you potentially use a Inspiring Oratory to mantra strength yourself.
Yeah. And
come in with that 3 damage swing. Although your the AP on the base Crozius is so low.
Yeah.
It's probably actually not going to do anything.
Almost nothing in the Terminators. Because those are the Thunderhammer. So the Storm Shield, so it's actually... No, wait, no, because they don't get Armor Contempt then, right?
Right, it doesn't really
matter.
It
just doesn't really matter. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be... If you're not in Assault Doctrine, they're going to be saving on 2s regardless.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So, yeah.
Well, based on the speed at which the command points are going down, I feel like we probably saw... Oh, that's not what you wanted.
That's animal abuse right there. Somebody call PETA. You can't be doing that.
All right. So he gave the full rerolls to hit in melee on the first turn.
That makes total sense. I love it. All right. And I imagine that some of the damage output from these Thunderwolves is probably because they were set to Assault Doctrines.
Yeah,
those
that's
Tesla
Yep. Probably can assume we did all the doctrines or whatnot.
And that does last for the entire battle round, so even on the swing back with that Armor of Russ in play, they're going to be able to continue to use that combo. Now, what we need to see here, we've done appreciable damage on the Space Wolf side, not crippling damage for sure to the Dark Angels army, but we've killed almost a Terminator unit at this point. What we need to see is the Space Wolves be able to confirm that, essentially. I'd like to see a Wolfen unit go in and clean up the remainder of the whichever Terminator squad was damaged, although I imagine the Ravenwing Apothecary there is going to start regenerating those guys, so you have to commit now to try to close that that off and make sure that unit's dead. If that Wolfen unit just stands there, as we've talked about, these Deathwing Terminators do not interact in the shooting phase. And the shooting phase is how you have to deal with Wolfen, because if you have to charge them, they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
So a Wolfen unit could go in, if it can deal enough damage to a single Terminator unit to kill it or not take too much damage back, the Terminators have to charge it, and then you get to fight again because they fight on death in the Dark Angel's turn. And then, so you're essentially getting 2 rounds out of your Wolfen squads, and if you can continue to trade those Wolfen squads into the Dark Angel's army, you can deal enough damage to start to tilt the attrition in your favor.
So the Thunderwolf Cavalry did pass their leadership, so they do get to stay there. And that was the Dark Angel's turn. Those Terminators on the bottom had come out from that ruin and come into the fray. So we are about to see the Space Wolves get their chance to counterpunch. Frostbite asking about what are the clear bases under terrain. This event, Motor City Mayhem, is using GW terrain. So those clear bases are the obscuring footprints. If you are not touching a clear base, or if a model is not touching clear base, unit is not touching it, however you want to say it, it cannot be seen if you would have to draw a line of sight over the clear base.
Yep.
So if you hide on the sides, you are basically clear for most of the things in the table. The minute you walk into the clear base, you become true line of sight. But all of the 4 large ruins do not have windows in this event. So there are, some angles you can get. But, if you get someone behind you and you're standing on the clear base, they can see you. If you're off the clear base and that's in between you and what you're shooting, even if they come around behind, there's obscuring there.
Yeah, I think certainly, at least from what I've seen so far, and the players that I've spoken to have been very impressed with the not only the quality of the terrain from an aesthetic standpoint, but also the consistency. It's all U.S. Open. The layouts are very clear. The special rules have been been made very clear to the players, and everyone is on the same page with a U.S. Open layout, which is a patently relatively balanced terrain layout, and I think everyone's very happy with it.
There is an important note. We haven't mentioned this at any point on the chat. This entire tournament is only using Type 2 GW terrain.
Yep.
The Type 1 currently, at least on, I know at least one mission, there may be more than one, I'm not actually sure. The way the Type 1 sets up, where the 2 small ruins that we currently have in the middle, they move out to the sides. There's at least one mission at that point where all 6 objectives are just completely in the open and you cannot hide anywhere.
Yeah.
And apparently players don't like it when
Turns
they can't
out,
hide their stuff.
Tau can become really good, actually. So that's good for you. Happy.
I'm good on this train, so I'm fine either way.
Yeah. There is a in the event special rules though, there is a level of player optimization though, because you do allow the players to place the 3-dimensional elements of the terrain as they see fit. So they are considered to be true line of sight blocking, but also you can orient them however you like. So if you're on a particular mission where the terrain would hamper you unduly, you can rotate the ruins so that you can move through one edge or another, for example, which I think is a good way to create that happy medium between the layout 1 and layout 2, because sometimes you get to situations where the terrain is congested or something like that, or it's not oriented in the way that would be beneficial to you, and you have this rule that just says, I don't know, make it good. Make it good. Yeah. I think that's makes a ton of sense, and I really like that as well. I think that's like sort of a level of player optimization that is going to be super useful for the games.
Luckily, though, in this match, no one really cares about this, right?
Right. What are guns, even?
We're just going to run through the wall, so
yeah.
what does it matter?
Hammer, no shoots. Hammer, ignore line of sight. So we do have a Wolfen unit, it looks like, pushing out into the center. Ready to try to clean up. Oh, 2 Wolfen units.
Oh boy, we got to go check at the
going
the
hard.
Prayers to the good God, everyone, for his blessing upon us.
Now,
as we can see the approach of, it looks like Centurions there in your bottom right.
Man.
And some Wolf there in the bottom left. This is not going to feel good.
This is truly Corn's table here. Wow.
You're absolutely right.
We're just going to have a big fight in the middle. Everyone will be dead. And then that's whoever's last man standing wins.
Hey, you know what? Some people like to play 40K.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm 100% for it. Now, is Kyria Draxus going to commit here, do you think, to get that fight last stability active?
Do we have any indication she has moved?
I appreciate that we're shaking the models out of the ruins right here.
know
there's
what?
there's one
it's been a long
cowardly
day.
space wolf.
This is game 3. It's been a long day.
It's a little known fact, actually, that thunderhammers frighten space wolves. They have to hide under the bed.
Well, what the problem is what people don't realize is that the thing that the Thunderhammers are going with is not a storm shield, but just a large pot that you're chasing the dogs with by clanging together. They tend to run away from that ruckus.
Right? Yeah, that's very scary. So they don't want to leave the safety of their hidey hole.
All right, so Kyria has come outside the ruin. I believe the bottom right ruin. I believe she is right behind this pile of wolfen, is what it sounds like.
Oh, I think I see here. If we want to go to the overhead, I think she's
Transition over here.
at that top corner. Yeah, will be bottom right. Looks like there's a smaller base there behind all the wolfen,
It's right here.
or maybe up at the apex of that ruined base. Yeah, right there.
Up here. All right. So
That
the
looks
thing
like
that is hanging on the little plexiglass up there.
Yep.
We believe that's Kyria.
Yeah, that looks like her little dragon hanging off the edge.
So she is fighting the Dark Angel's librarian. I guess she has the closest somehow.
Yeah, so I believe her.
Oh, she has targeted, doesn't
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dragon lets her target the
Yeah.
smites.
She's got like that Kasoro Khan thing where it flies out there and does
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
I like those mechanics. Those are fun.
I love a competitive game, but anytime you can add some flavor to it,
Absolutely.
it just makes it better.
Absolutely, for sure. Just a little spice to
Yeah.
keep things fun.
Now, I could never play orcs because that's too spicy for me because everything's silly.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what's happening.
Right.
But a little dragon flying around and just like dive bombing people, I'm here for that.
Yeah. Or orcs do that, except it's 6 Def Coptas. So it's
That
kind
they
of
fly
the same.
back into the sun or something, right? Yeah. That's the thing.
That
Still,
bounce off the table. Boing. Incredible.
No one has yet explained to me why that still exists, but apparently it does.
Because orcs need the help. I think that's the
That
answer.
may be fair.
Yeah.
That's probably the fairest answer possible.
Poor guys. Those poor orc players. They're trying, man. We got 6 orcs today, 7 orcs today. They're fighting the good fight.
Orc players may be the most dedicated army fan base. I've never seen an orc player that like stopped playing orcs to go do something else.
Right.
Orc players just play orcs.
Yeah.
Which is what they do.
Yeah, it's a fight between orc players and Space Wolf players, I think.
Well, that's fair. Space Wolves players are also pretty dedicated.
They do like their Space Wolves.
I can tell you who is not loyal is Blood Angels players because every time they're terrible, I leave. So that seems to happen frequently, apparently.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah. Although they're probably a lot better than I give them credit for currently. So, as we mentioned, Secondary Guard with Armory Contempt is that's a thing.
Okay, so we were trying to activate a Murderous Hurricane for an additional fight last, just stacking those over and over. So another fight last effect on a Terminator unit, but we used Watcher, or we used a Watcher in the dark to the upgrade deny from the targeted unit.
This overhead is just a beautiful shot right now. As we're talking about Murderous Hurricane. There is a Murderous Hurricane.
It's Murderous Hurricane of models, absolutely. I do like that it will literally be a swirling melee very shortly. Yeah, this is going to get absolutely nightmarish, chat, because it looks like we have 2 units of Wolfen. Is it all 3 units of Wolfen committing, plus the Centurions, plus a Bloodclaw squad? Absolutely wild. I think it looks like Samuel here, the Space Force player, saw that he could deal appreciable damage to one of these Terminator squads, brought it down below half, and was like, all right, we're going for the throat.
I guess we're going in.
We've smelt blood. It's time for the pack to hunt.
Now, I can't remember. Are Carcharodon's Space Wolf successors? Because those are shark ones, right?
I think it's whatever. I've seen them as all sorts of things, let me tell you.
I was say, Blood in the Waters, if we could channel or enter Carcharodon, I guess that's what we're doing.
Absolutely. I have a local player who has a Carcharodon's army, and it's gorgeous.
I don't think I've ever seen a bad-looking one.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, people who choose that army really want to make it pop.
At one point, he converted it to use as a Chaos Space Marine army, and he had a Forge Fiend that he converted to be a huge shark with guns. And
that's amazing.
Perfect.
Did he get like the old 90s
Chef's
Street
kiss.
Shark or something and like just strap guns to
It
it?
was very similar. Yeah, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was wonderful.
So I asked our table boss if literally all the Space Wolf units committed, and his response was no. The Cyber Wolves and Blood Claws stayed in the back.
Yeah, here they go. We want to switch to our
All right, this
glitch cam
is why
over
we
here.
pray to the glitch gods. Everyone.
There goes the Assault Centurions, gloriously making it into melee. Now, I think appreciably here, too, because the Dark Angels list is so focused on melee attacks, there's no downside if you fail these charges as a Space Wolf player, right? Because oftentimes you're like, well, I failed the charge, my melee unit's going to get caught out in the open, it's not going to be, wrapped, it's not going to be engaged, it's not going to be dealing its damage, it's going to get shot and die because it's out, not behind this obscuring terrain. Except in this situation, it literally doesn't matter. You will not take damage unless you are in melee, and you're about to jam your entire army into the face of the Dark Angels player.
Right.
So he's not going to have the ability to maneuver around you.
So the Synths made a 10-inch charge. The Aggressors made a 9-inch charge.
That's a good start.
That's a good start.
And is that Hounds of Mordecai also engaging as well?
Our table boss is typing. The players are playing at such a pace our table boss can't even keep up. That was the Wolfen who charged the Terminators in Lazarus. Oh, some of the Wolfen. There's
Okay.
more.
Fair enough.
I hate to make this joke because it's, everyone makes this joke. But apparently the furry convention has picked a location for next year and it's the middle of this table. Because they're all coming together right now.
All right, yeah. I don't know if I like that one. That was a pretty beardy joke.
Yeah.
Hey!
You got me. Yeah, one up me, Trevi.
What a tale you had to tell.
I feel like you might have more in the bank than me. You just feel like you have a wider commentary joke breadth than I do. I need to catch up to your level.
Maybe I just have a wider repertoire of terrible jokes. Frostbite, you should have come.
We would have loved to have you. We got plenty of tables. There's plenty more people coming tomorrow for sure.
So it looks like we have Assault Centurions, and are those aggressors to the?
I believe the aggressors
right
on
of
the right
center?
of the Centurions.
Okay.
Yeah, because they were the thing that moved immediately
Yes.
after.
Into the center of the table. I'd like to see a Blood Claw get in, but I think that gets a little bit awkward because that would get you objective secured in that center objective, so you can counteract the Dark Angels upsack without having to kill them all. But it looks like 2 full Wolfen units. I think every Wolfen unit made their
they
charge.
all made their charge according to our
Oh
table
my
boss.
god.
Everybody's here, and there are going to be limited interrupts with the amount of fight lasts that are happening. Although you charge as many things, somebody can interrupt
The
something.
Murderous Hurricane got denied. It doesn't look like Draxus
That's right.
was able to charge.
Yeah, she was behind everything.
So
So
this
she'd
is
have to
the
go
one
fast.
time that there is going to be no fight last.
All right.
So,
So you get one chance to punch back, basically.
yeah, Luke, I'm sure, has 2 CP burning a gaping hole in his pocket, ready to kill one of these units before it swings.
And literally anything he could kill will go as far as possible to keep him alive.
Absolutely.
Because if all of these get to do what they want, it is bad news bears.
Now, the awkward part is that the Wolfen are essentially interrupt-proof because they will fight you if you kill them before they swing.
Yeah.
So the prime target, it looks to me, is the aggressors, but we're just going to swing with the aggressors first. The Centurions are, also open to be interrupted on, but they're only fighting 3 Terminators, so there's a strong likelihood they don't get killed. There's also 1 Thunderwolf still there, I should point out, directly in the center. He's just been there for
They've been
eons.
hugging him for about 2 turns now.
Yeah. His ancestors also fought this same combat, and he's their descendant because he's been there for so long.
All right, we're starting with the aggressors. Aggressors are fighting first.
So here they come.
Into the Thunderhammer Terminators.
Flamey boys, see if their Power Fist can get off. Now, I don't think, with the Chaplain gone, I don't believe that we have access to rerolls in this vicinity. But we do have that +1 to hit from Born Heroes, so that should do a little bit to make up for the downside.
All right. We are lining up the dice as there's a lot of things about to happen.
It's time to get aggressive. Do you want to pat back to overhead view here? Because looks like we're rolling the dice on screen.
No,
You just, hit the top button. Sick.
All right. I think we're going to have a nice before and after shot at the middle of the table.
I know. Look at this morass, chat. This battle round, I think, will entirely decide the game.
Yeah,
I have to imagine. If the Space Wolves can deal crippling damage here, they're going to have enough to push through and potentially threaten the Dark Angel's objectives, and that's going to roll off pretty quickly. But if the Space Wolves don't deal enough damage here, the other 2 units of Terminators, there's still 2 more units of Terminators waiting in the wings. The other 2 units of Terminators will swing back. If they can get their best target selection, they're going to be able to clip out the entirety of the Space Wolf army right here and do the exact same thing back to them. Now,
the interesting thing is also, like, we got bogged down with those Thunderwolf cavalry. They have more wounds than the average Space Wolf model. I don't know if the Terminators will bounce off everything that's standing in front of you. Like, well, I don't think Wolfen are going to bounce all the Lightning Claw attacks they're about to get the same way the Thunderwolf did earlier.
Yeah. And that was Thunderwolves, to be fair, also buffed with basically every buff that they could have. They had the damage ignore from Saga of the Bear, and they all were upgraded with Storm Shields. The Wolfen also are upgraded with Storm Shields, to be fair, but that doesn't help so much against Lightning Claws. But I do want to point out the Spatial player's positioning here, because he's engaged the units on the flanks of this combat with the Wolfen squads, which is really smart, because what it means is that if those 2 Terminator units on each side want to engage into anything, the easiest charges they have to make, and remember, they are Terminators, so they're very slow, they only move 5, they don't really have target selection when it comes to their charges, has to be the Wolfen squads. And those Wolfen squads, as we've been talking about before, will fight on death if you charge them first, which means, all this Dark Angels player wants to do is fight something that isn't Wolfen, and all the Space Wolf player is giving him to fight are those Wolfen, and just forcing him into these really awkward trades that you don't want to be making when your entire army is entirely made up of very expensive Terminators.
So we start out with the aggressors. They managed to kill 3 Terminators by themselves.
Wow! All right, good job, boys.
That's a pretty good start. There's a lot more to come.
Yeah. And I think we are also seeing, just the lethality of this Space Wolf successor combo. Once you are in Assault Doctrine and you have that +1 to hit and exploding 6s, Teslaing 6s essentially, each one of those 6s exploding is mathematically equivalent to an additional +1 to hit, which means one of these Space Wolf units attacking converts probably like 110% of its attacks.
Yeah.
They will hit more times than they attack, generally speaking.
I don't know this. I haven't run it specifically on any Space Wolf scenarios. I have done Bloody Rose plenty, as I've played Bloody Rose for a while. If you have, like Repincher, the famous example, hitting on 4s, full rerolls, exploding 6s, those 2 things average out to 100%.
Yep.
Like, that makes up for so much, they makes up for so much of a +1 to hit as you're comparing it to.
Absolutely. And that's only 1 explosion. And these guys have 2.
These have 2.
That's 2 explosions. Double the exploding.
And they also don't hit on 4s, which is also helpful.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the 3+ to hit base, maybe 2+ if you don't have a penalty to hit built in, is real solid.
I think exploding 6s is one of those things where, like, I'd never give it enough credit mathematically for what it really does.
Right.
Like, I assume it's good. It sounds great. And then it happens, and I'm like, that always seems to do more than I feel like it's going to. Yeah.
Did you roll good, or am I just bad at math? And typically, it's the second one.
Well, there's only 3 kinds of people in the world, Trevi.
Yeah.
People who are good at math and people who are bad at math.
Nice. What's the second one?
I don't know if you're trying to get me, Trevi. I don't know who's getting who here. You're trying to flip it on me. Come on, Trevi. Hoisted by my own petard.
All right. Looks like some more happenings here. We had some. Here we go. So we did have an interrupt Lightning Claw Terminators splitting into separate Wolfen squads.
Which makes sense, as you're saying. That's the one thing he just doesn't want to have on the table long term. He wants to, if they're going to do their thing, let's get rid of them with a single unit as opposed to 2 units.
The awkward part here, though, is that against Wolfen, your interrupts they're never defensive. You're basically only spending 2 CP so that your unit gets to make its attacks. Whereas oftentimes the value of interrupt is that you can spend 2 CP, you get to deal damage to your opponent's army, and that damage typically means that you don't die in return. But because, like we've been talking about, the Wolfen fight on death, you don't get any defensive benefit from this. You're just spending to make more attacks with your unit.
I feel like there could be an argument to be made, which maybe this is why he's doing it. If I have a unit that's not long for this world, because it's surrounded by whatever is here in the middle of the table, if I could take out the Wolfen and then they get to do their thing into me, into 1 unit, I would rather that happen than they get to go off on the flanks, as you pointed out, and then they do their thing to 2 separate units. It's a little bit of just, this is inevitable, so let me control where you're going to do your thing.
And I think this is a pretty good example of, I know when the Wolfen got their rework from the 8th edition Codex, where they were ludicrous, a lot of people sort of wrote this version of Wolfen off. Now that their fight on death, doesn't trigger when they, if they've already attacked, for example. And it's a sort of ability where if you look at it at face value, it doesn't seem that good because a melee unit wants to be charging, and when you charge, you fight first. So fighting when you die shouldn't matter that much because you can't double fight in the same turn. So, but as soon as you come into a situation like this and you start doing the mental arithmetic of whether or not this, how to play around this fight on death, for example, it starts to get really awkward. And you see the value in kind of weird abilities like that.
The Space Wolves, obviously a melee army, very powerful melee abilities, but their theme has been, throughout the book, we look at the fight last and these abilities of fighting on death and all these things, they have made, their theme is, I want to make melee as difficult for you to engage me in. It's not just I want to hit you hard, it's not that I want to kill you in melee, is that I just don't want melee to be easy for you if you choose to participate in it.
Absolutely.
As Blood Angels players, I would love to have any of those tricks.
Right. You get Sanguinary Guard now, though. That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, my codex is Sanguinary Guard the book, so it is what it is.
Yep. Can confirm. Those guys are pretty good now.
All right. Seeing still a bunch of dice were rolled.
Yeah, it looks like we're starting to remove some Wolfen. You do have to also be careful where you remove your Wolfen from, because they have to fight basically where they stand. So if you're strung out too far, you could come into a situation where when your Wolfen fights on death, it's actually out of range to attack anything, so the ability just fizzles. It looks like here, though, we have Terminators freaking everywhere, and so you're going to be able to attack something with them, almost regardless.
So that interrupt, 2 CP, killed 4 Wolfen, 2 on each side.
Fair enough. We'll see what they do back, though.
We'll see if that's what we're rolling out. The value he wanted to get out of that or not.
Yeah.
I feel like 4 is not the number that he was shooting for.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fine. That's almost an entire unit, right?
And that's 2 from each, so there's still 3 left on each side.
Right. So you've killed 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think we're for both of these players, we have to kind of do the mental math, as each individual model by itself rather than trying to remove entire units.
We're at a point, realistically, where both armies an entire unit in the middle of the table. So
right,
it
exactly.
doesn't matter what unit
you're
from.
Every model you kill is a model that's not punching you, so let's get as many of those as possible. Oh, man, looks like some Terminators getting removed from that Wolfen fight on death. Is that an Apothecary 6 up ignore there?
He does not want to lose this trade in any significant way. He needs this trade to be pro-Terminator.
Looks like maybe only 2 go down. Yeah.
That's probably close to equal-ish.
Yeah, it's about what you can expect. 2 Terminators with only the Thunderhammer. Oh,
that's
man.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Ooh. And then we have a...
Because if the Lightning Claws are still about to pop, they have
actually, I think they're all Thunderhammers.
Oh, they're all Thunderhammers. Yeah. So it may just been the only one was in position.
Yeah.
The way he pulled it. Which could also make sense that this is a fight on death. This is not his interrupt. He hasn't activated this unit. If he has other things that he wants these models to attack, it makes sense to pull maybe one that's just not going to be able to fight on death.
Right.
Yeah, they all have Thunderhammers.
Yep.
Oh no, all the sergeants have frost claws. Everyone else has thunder hammers. The sergeant in each unit has frost
Oh,
claw.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So that is attacking right now. Are frost claws actually different than lightning claws? Are they like 2 damage lightning claws, or are
I
they just regular?
think they have a strength bonus on them. I think they're +1 strength. Yeah, they're +1 strength.
Or +1 strength lightning claws? Okay. It's hard to keep track because I've got to play against many different versions of frost weapons, and they don't do the same thing in any of the editions.
Right. Yeah. Today they're +1 strength, but tomorrow, who knows? Okay, so it looks like the top Wolfen squad now activating. Just a normal fight here, so these guys will not be able to fight on death when and if they go down. But Terminator's starting to feel a little bit light on the ground in the middle there. I'm curious to see what these Assault Centurions do, because that's the fight that really matters. These models fighting around the edges are going to be dealing damage attritionally, which is always useful, but those models aren't on the objective. And the Deathwing Terminators are objective secured, so they're going to be stealing that away unless these Assault Centurions can clip them out.
So the sergeant killed an additional Terminator. So
Ooh.
we killed
So
4
3
Wolfen
went
and
down?
3 Terminators.
Wow.
And now
Yikes.
the rest of the Space Wolf army gets to do their thing.
And there's still 6 Wolfen in those 2 units that get to attack, so it's highly likely that Terminator unit gets knocked out.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There go Matt with the oh yeah, absolutely. This is brutal.
This is brutal. But there's still 20 Terminators waiting.
That's the thing. Like, he could do all of this, and that's only half the army.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that the 20 in the back are still the to the last.
Absolutely,
so
they
the
are.
points are still on the table.
Absolutely, they are. The scary part here, though, is that if you commit those guys, I mean, again, like we talked about previously, there is the chance you start to bleed objective or victory points because you start to lose your to the last once they start dying, obviously, and then you lose stubborn defiance if you ever lose that your home base objective, and that's a big blow. That's difficult to come back from. So having like 10 Terminators, like literally phalanxing that objective makes it very difficult to engage into. So that's pretty useful.
Now,
but
the only obsec in the Space Wolves is the Blood Claws, correct?
The only obsec in the Space Wolves is the Blood Claws. That's correct, yep.
So, short of the Blood Claws moving up, we could, because it's a scouring, everything's condensed in the middle, those Terminators on the sides could come up, maybe daisy chain a single guy to the back, and they could join that fray in the middle without necessarily abandoning that objective.
Yeah, that's
maybe the only mission that would be possible.
Exactly. That's why I was saying earlier, I was a little bit sad not to see any Blood Claws pushing out.
Yeah.
One thing I love is that, with the lack of ranged attacks on the Deathwing side of the table, we've actually just put the characters right out in the open, right? I'm good. They're not really in danger right now, so they're just chilling.
This is not the we have a bajillion Stormbolters you should be scared about version of Terminators.
Yeah.
As we saw with their Grey Knights last round.
Absolutely.
All right, so this was Wolfen attacking Lazarus and Terminators at the moment.
Now, who do you think would have won, the Deathwing list or the Khorne Demon list that we saw in the game 1?
I really wish I could watch that just for the fun of it.
The game would be sick, right?
I honestly have no. All I know is that Steven, again, he's in my local playtest group for Death or Glory. He has actively complained about Armor of Contempt hurting his specific list, so that Terminators are probably not the thing he wants to be fighting if that's a problem.
Fair enough.
All the Dark Angels Terminators with hammers have died.
Wow. Wow.
I don't know which unit did it. I imagine it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're all attacking them together.
Can we give us a flip back to Glitch Cam over here?
Let's go back to the Glitch for the Glitch God.
Because it does look pretty light on the ground here for our Terminator buddies. Look like there's a pocket of 3 in the center. There's a couple more stragglers over there on the left-hand side of the camera. But the Space Wolves have cleaned up the remaining, and I don't believe those Assault Centurions have swung yet, right?
No.
Oh, boy.
They're in the exact spot they started
Oh, man.
Let's see. We got, looks like 3 right here, maybe 4 right here in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to be honest. with as difficult to kill as Dark Angel's Terminators are, I don't know if I entirely expected this outcome
Yeah,
from this
this
engagement.
is more in favor of the Space Wolves than I expected.
Yeah.
Lazarus went down, but being Lazarus, he has fought on death.
Yep. No Psychers for him to hit with 4 damage, though, which is sad, but still nice to have that ability in the chamber.
So important note, the Thunderhammer Terminators would have to be one of the 2 to last targets. So that unit is gone, 5 points off the table.
Oof. Yikes. Well, we are moving to the Dark Angel turn momentarily here. It really depends on whether or not they can keep these guys in the center alive, because they can start to pull ahead on primary objectives if they do.
Well, the thing is with the Wolfen, as you pointed out, they went to the flanks. It doesn't really matter if they kill anything there or not, because they have created a protective funnel around, as you were pointing out, the important unit being the Centurions there. Those Terminators are going to need a nigh miracle to charge around everything else and get to the Centurions with the places they're in. Even though they're not directly move blocking, they've created an indirect move block with the Centurions in the back of the table. So if they just run into Wolfen and then Space Wolves get to start back with aggressors and Centurions immediately into those Terminators again, I have to feel like he would be on the front foot in that position.
So some Terminators from the center going down. That was to one of the depleted Wolfen squads, though, not to the Assault Centurions. Oh, no.
So the Wolfen have now piled into the remaining 2 characters, the Librarian and the Ancient.
Yeah, we can kind of see them in the top right-hand side of the camera next to the score sheet, Samuel's score sheet. Now, the awkward part there is that they are Deathwing, so they need to make a check in order to fall back. Now, falling back for the Librarian immediately means, regardless of whether or not it, or if it is able to fall back, it means that they aren't going to be completing War Patrol that turn, but they need that Librarian to survive if they want to score any points at all in that secondary. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it seems like it would be very difficult for Dark Angels to push through if they lose their Librarian right here, because that's 15 points, or 12 points, immediately down the drain. I'm so flabbergasted by that Warp Ritual pick, I'm going to be honest.
It's just, I wanted the Warp Ritual to work. I love seeing things we don't get to see often.
Right.
But there may be a reason you don't get to see it often.
Yes. I think Eldari, the only faction that does Warp Ritual particularly well. Maybe Thousand Suns. You get some Sorcerer's Facade action going on. You can bounce around.
Dice can give you 6s on Psychic, right?
Yeah.
And none of their people take perils, so it doesn't matter.
Yep.
And then Thousand Suns can just say something can't be denied, so it doesn't matter.
And especially, Eldar also have the Ghost Helm of Al-Shazir, which allows them to, on natural 9s to cast, they also become undeniable. And they can quicken the caster after they cast. So if you are a Skyrunner, you can run to the center, perform your Warp Ritual, potentially Strands of Fate to make it undeniable, then you quicken that guy and he runs back to safety. So you don't even lose any models for it.
My experience with Tau, Fire and Fading, is that if you can do something important and then run away,
it's very good. It's very good. Now, how is Tau at securing that Warp Ritual?
I've never not secured it when I've tried.
There you go. Perfect. I've never failed the psychic action.
I've never failed a Warp Ritual.
Perfect. Oh, there goes the last Terminators in the center. Oh, no. That was the Assault Centurions putting it down.
And they are now the creamy nougat in the middle of that chocolate in the middle.
What a turn from this Space Wolf army. Wild.
There is definitely now a real problem with the Terminators getting to those Centurions if that's what they want to prioritize.
Absolutely.
That's just not happening.
Yeah, again, I mean, you got to highlight this good positioning on Samuel's part. He's literally bubble wrapped all of his non-Wolfen units with his Wolfen. I think this has been really like flawless fight and charge phase execution from Samuel. You really can't fault him at all in how he's been positioning his units so far.
You mentioned earlier, Space Wolves are an army that's known for people sticking with it through thick and thin.
Absolutely.
You see the benefit of multiple reps of the same army in this game.
Space Wolves might be the Space Marine chapter with the highest ceiling, the highest skill ceiling, because of all of these interesting fight phase manipulation mechanics. And the fact that oftentimes they play a really good combined arms game. Not necessarily this list in particular, although we do have a little bit of short range shooting between, there's There's a lot of flamethrowers, I should say. But we have seen lists like wolf bots that bring a lot of dreadnoughts and try to use those fight last effects defensively and while they shoot at you. We have seen more well-rounded lists that take long fang drop pods, for example. So Space was really one of the most flexible Space Marine chapters with this focus on the fight phase that really rewards players who, like you said, stick with it, put the reps in, and learn how to execute the army very well, and I think that's what we're seeing here.
There are not a lot of armies where I imagine the pilot would look across the table, see 40 Terminators that are all permanently transhuman, and be like, I can charge that.
I think we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, just the inherent math just seems insurmountable on its surface, unless you've actually put time into examining that.
Right. Now, we do see the Dark Angels character swinging back a little bit. Librarian kills 2 Wolfen. Deathwing Ancient kills 1. So starting to stem the tide slightly. Can we take a look at the top down here? Is that Librarian still engaged right now?
Well, I believe that one was engaged on a pile-in. Although it talks about the not being a file back was, I think, the thing you mentioned earlier.
Right, exactly, yeah. They have to take a check to fall back, but even if you do, you can't warp patrol anymore, so it's a little bit sad. It does look like there's a medium base next to the characters, so they might still be engaged. Or the Librarian itself, it might still be engaged.
This is, just looking at the overhead, our hurricane has shrunk. It was not the large...
Now officially a tropical storm.
Yes, it has been downgraded, correct. Tropical Storm Lehman Russ. All right. I can't tell looking at the table. I feel like we've moved on to the Dark Angel's turn at this point. Dark Angels player is walking around with a measuring tape, so I assume he's...
Yep, we've also scored primaries for Dark Angels.
There we go. All right. So we're now at the beginning of Dark Angels. So there's definitely a problem that is taking shape. Things dying in the middle notwithstanding. We are absolutely behind on the secondary game as a Dark Angels player at this point.
Yeah.
The warp ritual has not worked out, and we are demonstrating that best case scenario on primary is we're going to get basically the same score, something very close. Dark Angels player could easily still lose the primary. There's still plenty of game left, and there's a lot of stuff in the middle, as we've alluded to. But that warp ritual is
that's
not
killing him right now.
out.
That's killing him right now. To be fair, the to the last represents 10 points that haven't been scored yet. We'll score that end of the game, but we have already lost 5 on that.
Oh, the Wolfen that the Librarian killed, our Space Wolves player has finally made a mistake. He forgot to fight on death with them into the Librarian, so he is no longer engaged.
Okay, well, they already attacked, right? So they can't attack again.
Oh, that's right. They can't do it like they used to.
You can't double
swing.
swing. Yeah.
So regardless, he has pulled them out of engagement. That Librarian is free to do what it wants.
All right. Well, we could see some points scored here. I almost might have just pelted the Hounds of Mordecai at my opponent at this point. Although they might, we said no reserves, right? But I would
nothing
kind
in
of
reserves.
expect for them to be outflanking, but I guess not. Is that a? Do we see a storm speeder way out in the back there, on the top right, left-hand side? Excuse me.
It looks like top left is storm speeder. I'm confirming right now.
Yeah, big downside of having an army focused entirely on melee is that you can't deal with those guys. Yeah,
he has nothing he can devote to that.
And that thing is just gets to print money on engaging all fronts all game.
Yeah. And Void Bearable just joining us, commenting on the fluffiness of this matchup. Not only is this match fluffy, I would say it's played out exactly like I would hope it would, fluff-wise. They just went at it.
We did talk about the Space Wolves being the Emperor's executioners, and today they are executing a bunch of Dark Angels Terminators.
These, at the very least, I believe the Space Wolves probably think these are fallen, whether they are or are not.
Yeah. Or they're just bored.
That's good easily be it also. Yeah, we're here. What else are we going to do in round 3?
Yeah.
So yes, the table boss is confirming the land speeders are as deep into the corners of both sides of the table as possible.
Oh boy!
So they are tucked in there, which is going to be difficult to dig out because he cannot run backwards for a number of reasons now. Void Bearable, Warp Ritual has been, I would say, the largest part of the conversation of this match. the librarian took
Looks
it.
like we did go off finally. We're up to 3 on Warp
Okay.
Ritual. We got one.
That is the third attempt at Warp Ritual that the librarian has made, and the first time it has not been denied, as the Space Wolf player has a unit of Hounds of Mordecai that have been causing it problems over the course of the beginning of the game.
Yeah. I think you can also get super cheeky and be very aggressive with as the Space Wolf player with your own librarian in order to Psychic Hood the other librarian.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they're
What
-1
is
to
he gonna
cast
do?
and your +1 to deny. Yeah.
We've talked about it. His list is not going to allow him to extend past anything.
Yeah.
You can start jamming things in the middle of the table with relative confidence that they're not going to be bad touched.
Absolutely. Well, we're on the board for Warp Ritual. That's very good. And then, as we've been saying, we've been very up on Space Wolves so far, and then they have been doing absolutely ludicrous damage. But there's still 20 Dark Angels Terminators. So.
Yeah, we did an insane amount of damage, and that only killed half the army.
Yep.
So, and again, this is the scouring. Those units can come out. Into
no!
that while still holding on their back.
Oh no!
Oh, that's not good.
So what just happened here, chat, is the Dark Angels player
let me transition so you guys can see it.
Elected to play very defensively, kept all of his Terminators in his deployment zone, kept his characters at the front there in order to continue that Warp Ritual with the Librarian, forgetting that Space Wolves can 6-inch heroically intervene for CP. So the aggressors have used that heroic intervention to engage the Librarian and are probably now going to punch him to death. And that is the only 3 points scored on Warp Ritual. There he goes. Oh, no. What a disaster.
We've all made that mistake playing against Space Wolves.
The number of times I've seen games totally changed from...
He was back for a moment.
Oh yeah, I think we were rolling damage ignores from the apothecary. Games more often than not get turned on their head by that stratagem. It's so easy to forget because Space Wolves have so much else going on, but also that counter assault stratagem is just brutal sometimes. And if you can catch your opponent in a compromising position like that, it can immediately just end the game. And I think from here on out, even if Dark Angels win the fight from here, I think they're going to have a tough time pushing back because their secondary objective score is going to be so low.
So first of all, the Space Wolf player is not going to run backwards because he's a Space Wolf player.
Right.
He could absolutely run backwards at this point.
Unless the Terminators throw a stick or something.
Sure. Play fetch, absolutely. The Space Wolf player, we talked about in the earlier 2 games, there is a point in each game where you no longer have to do anything. And your opponent needs to break serve because you have created a situation where you will naturally coast to an inevitable victory. We are at that point because his secondary now is locked in at 3 points.
Right.
And as long as he can get all of his other secondaries to match, the Raise the Banners is going to far exceed the Warp Ritual. Yeah,
like you pointed out previously, it's highly likely that both these players score exactly the same on primary objectives. If even one Terminator touches that center objective, it transfers over to the Dark Angel side, so you're locking your opponent down to 8 points. But in that situation, the Space Wolves win hands down. There's nothing the Dark Angels can do because they have to come back on primary because their secondaries are going to be so low.
Yeah. The Dark Angel player doesn't even have a list where if we create a game state where the Dark Angels player needs to take backfield objectives, home field objectives away from the Space Wolf player, he just can't because he can't leave his. He could reach out to the middle with the Stubborn Defiance unit. He could not completely abandon it to go across the field and try to take primary away because he gives it too much on Stubborn Defiance at that point. So he's kind of locked in here. We're gonna have to see if he can find a way. We got 2 choices. Can he find a way to get it back? Is there a serve that he can break here, or we then shift into this is a tournament and we want to place as high as we possibly can. So where are the points left in this game? What points can we get to make sure I finish at the end of tomorrow in the best position to potentially make top 8 as an X and 1?
Yeah, absolutely. Vala Bearable, I'm so glad you get to see this game, dude, because this Space Wolves list is pretty wild. And I think a really strong meta play. Not entirely sure that you need Hounds of Mordecai after the Maliceptor nerfs this morning, but still, I mean, dudes are 10 Hounds of Mordecai.
I can't be mad at someone
looking to go 3-0 after day 1 of the 2022 Motor City Mayhem. What an absolute boss!
I have to assume at this point, Trevi, that if this list doesn't go 0-3 tomorrow, that you might have to talk about Hounds of Mordecai on your channel at some point in the coming week.
Oh, I hope so, dude. I was kind of psyched for that unit when it released, and I was hoping for a situation where it would become a really strong meta pick, and it looks like it finally happened because Hounds of Mordecai is really cool.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm always a fan, specifically with Space Marines, where there's so much homogenization between the armies. anytime you get to add a unit specific or a army specific unit to your list and it matters, I love it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter which version of Space Marines you're playing.
Right. Yeah, Space Marines often feel like they're, sort of the medium between each being individual armies and being sub-factions of a single faction. And anytime you can differentiate more broadly, it definitely feels really good. And I think Space Wolves are and any of the non-Codex compliant chapters are, because they've been built out of independent codexes, they feel a little bit more like that. Here's the Phobos Librarian right on camera there. He's going to pretend to do his own War Patrol just to rub it in, I think, a little bit on the Dark Angels. Kyrie
He and
Adraxis right up
Kyrie
in front.
Adraxis just start dancing like maypole dancing around the middle of the objective.
They're just playing with the dragon, man.
Yeah, like I play Blood Angels, Volibearable. So I agree. I was not a fan of when every version of Space Marine player was just playing 15 to 30 Vanguard vets. Like that gets. I enjoy when I go to an event. It's much easier at these large events like this, unless I guess you're actually good, which I don't have to deal with. I don't have to play all the undefeated people every round. But I enjoy when I go and I get 6 games, 5 games, something different every time.
Yep.
I don't think anyone likes playing the same army 3 times over the course of an event if they can avoid it.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And the seeing interesting combos is the coolest part of these large events, I think. You just, you hope that the game states, the meta game is in such a state that those armies can also succeed. Sometimes they can. Sometimes Tyranids win all the things. We'll see how this weekend goes. But I think at the very least, it's cool to get these, kind of off-meta armies on stream.
Is currently smiting. Again, she does not have to see. She has her little dragon helping her out.
Now, do you think she, arcs the smite through the dragon, or the dragon just bites you?
I assume the dragon's biting you.
Right.
Because I think that's what Kasoro Khan's bird does.
Yeah.
And so I assume it was something similar, but he doesn't smite, so I don't. Maybe,
yeah, it's a little funky because she has to make a psychic test to get
Yeah.
the dragon to hit you. Maybe she has to
Maybe
possess
she's
it or
psychically
something.
communicating with the
Yeah.
dragon so it understands directions.
Absolutely.
Because her whole thing is she steals weapons from other races, right?
Right.
So she might have stolen something that doesn't speak Imperial, and she has to psychically tell it what to do.
It's like a living weapon.
Yeah.
So it's like a Tyranid.
Maybe it is a Tyranid.
Hmm.
Do Tyranids look as cute as her dragon?
Yeah, they
Ravagers
do.
or whatever?
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I'm gonna introduce you to Hype Ripper tomorrow. I got my shirt.
Okay.
He's a cutie pie.
All right.
I like Kyrie Adraxis. She's very cool.
All right, so we did get Murder's Hurricane off on the Terminators, I believe in the bottom left corner, it appears. Nope, top right corner.
We did have a question. Volibearable, do we think heavy intercessors make it into lists now that Armor of Contempt and being 3 wounds is good for tanky troops, or are they still too expensive? I've seen them hit the table occasionally, especially in the tankier sub-factions. They're already going to see play in Deathwatch because you need them to build Indomitor kill teams. But I've seen them in Salamanders as well because they prevent wound rerolling, so getting through all those wounds is very difficult. I don't think they're that good, to be honest. But occasionally they'll put up some results just as a unit that can kind of tank and is relatively efficient for its defensive profile. But you really want something that a little bit more harder hitting, and especially because they only really operate in shooting. They don't really punch very well or do anything else, and they're kind of slow. That's a lot of sad.
Yeah. I have never seen a list where I thought they added anything.
Right.
I've seen a list where they're not bad.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a list where I was like, there's a good reason these are here.
Right.
So.
Yeah, oftentimes it's like, well, you could have taken normal Terminators and saved like 40 points or whatever.
All right, so the Wolfen have declared a charge on the Terminators in the bottom corner, I believe. I don't know if they made the charge. Aggressors are attacking the, I believe that means Apothecary.
Yep. Yeah, so we can see the aggressors in the middle there fighting the Ravenwing Apothecary. He's the oblong base over to the left-hand side of the screen because he is on a bicycle. Did the Terminators or did the Wolfen enter the building?
That's what I'm asking, if the Wolfen actually made their charge. I don't think I see them in the middle.
I do appreciate. I like this sort of consolidation from Samuel, though. He's recognized that this defensive position with the Wolfen screening out the remainder of his army is the way to go, and so he's literally just made a brick with Wolfen in the center and a bunch of his Centurions as the hard nougaty middle to the candy bar.
The Centurions are the creamy center of this this nougaty chocolate bar.
And he can score 12 on primary now and just say go every turn. Yeah. He realizes that his opponent is in a really tough place on secondary objectives, and the impetus to attack has to be on the Dark Angels now. And if they attack the Wolfen, it's basically like the Wolfen also charge them because the Wolfen will fight on death.
We also don't forget that Space Wolves do have bottom of turn. They went second.
That's also true.
If they can play as defensively here as they want to, knowing that they could trade 8s easily and just get a 12 at the end, be ahead on primary. We've already discussed at length the inevitability of them dominating on the secondary with the one Psyker no longer able to perform the Warp Ritual.
Yep. That's 2 games so far in stream we've had where the second player ends up dominant at the end of the game, which I think is pretty interesting.
I do, I'll take a moment to riff on that. I, as many 40K players, enjoy being a part of as many 40K groups, communities, whatnot, as I can, as I just like to, be surrounded by 40K as much as possible. The number of times that I have seen for the last year, 2 years, I don't even know how long, where people just wholeheartedly convinced that 40K is a game of who wins the go first roll and it just doesn't matter after that. We see games repeatedly at high levels where I don't understand what the people I don't know what those people are watching. Are there lists where going first is egregiously advantageous compared to a normal game? Absolutely. But that's going to exist in any game. You can skew towards a certain scenario, and if that scenario occurs, you're prepared for it. That's how it works. I don't know that we've seen any list today. Let me rephrase that. Outside of the Corn Demons list, I don't know that we've seen any list today where I looked at it, I was like, I don't think there's an avenue here for victory. Going first or second, like, there were going to be choices that had to be made, and, dice are a thing. Other players get a chance to mess up. You get a chance to mess up. Like, there are multitudes of decision points where players can lose the game still.
Yep.
I think we're seeing here, going second was not a death knell. Like we saw in the last game, going first or second, like there was a lot of interesting things that both players were still doing. The Corn Demon aside, where they have one thing they're going to do, and they probably would have loved to have gone first. I don't think I don't want to hang the entire game of 40Ks. I don't want to hang the argument of going first matters or doesn't matter based on bloodletter spam. I feel like that's probably an outlier.
Right.
I really that's I guess my one pet peeve at the moment is I don't think we have a game where you have to go first. That existed at the beginning of ninth. I've heard you talk at length about it. Many of us complained at the beginning of ninth. There were situations where that felt like if you didn't go first, it was nigh impossible before they changed the going second scoring system.
Yep.
I have not strongly felt that still existed since that change had been made. You get to see a lot more games up close than I do on your channel. I don't know if you have felt that it has been solved immediately upon that, or maybe gradually the meta has allowed it to exist.
Well, I think it's very dependent on the matchup for sure. I think so far we've gotten, and by design obviously, we've gotten matchups that are relatively close in power level, and I think that helps the first turn roll be less relevant.
Sure.
The other thing is speed and damage output. If you are able to put a lot of pressure on your opponent very quickly, then going first is going to be good for you because you can execute that immediately without your opponent being able to respond. So I think you'll oftentimes see lists like Eldari will benefit a lot going first because they're so quick, they can deal so much damage, and they also have the best indirect fire in the game probably right now. But I think those are the two things to think about, right? So, like, is a faction already skewed to wanting to go first? And then is the matchup relatively even? And I think the more even the matchup is, the less that first turn roll-off matters. but the most powerful factions become they abuse the first turn so much because their damage is so much more efficient than everyone else that they deal crippling damage before the game continues.
I don't disagree with you. Yes, he is Trevi. Yes, it's our first celebrity sighting for you, I guess. Our I feel like I don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying. But I feel like the key word and kind of what you summarized there is that speed is such an important factor. The fact that speed is so powerful in our game just means that many of the good lists want speed in their army. Doesn't even necessarily matter as much like what is this unit also is my fast unit also the one that does obscene damage? Is my fast unit also the one that's durable? Is that if you have an army that just is very, very fast and you get to go first, I feel like you're always going to be building a list that can take advantage of that. You just fast things are powerful when they go first. That's just the nature of how the game works. I don't think that as many of our public Facebook groups like to bemoan 40k is useless if you lose the first dice roll. I just wholeheartedly disagree with that specific statement. Are there situations where you can have a list that skews towards going first? Absolutely. I still think that in most situations there's a game to play.
Yeah, I think a more accurate statement would be that 40k is useless when you lose the first dice roll. Asterisk. Sometimes.
Or we've gone back to our Sex Panther.
Yes.
70% of the time it's useless 100% of the time. All right, so the Terminators have changed direction. They are now trying to shoot the speeders to stop the engage points.
Fair enough. Although, I mean, I guess that does help a little bit, but to be fair, you do also need to score points yourself in order to win the game.
That's that could be a decision of we are going to be stubbornly defiant, and the one thing they can do while standing in this exact spot is shoot that thing behind us. So,
now it looks like the Wolfen went into the bottom left-hand ruin, and they were able to kill 2 Terminators. And I think did the Terminators just kill them? Is that what happened there?
We did not get. They didn't say that, but that's what it appears to be.
Okay. We'll get a confirmation on whether or not those Wolfen are still alive or whether they've been put down. But it looks like Samuel may be going in for a little bit of additional damage here, arcing those aggressors around the edge there. Now, I think this is an interesting move because it looks like he's going to try to charge into the side of the Terminator unit, and that's going to make it impossible for all of the Terminators to get their attacks back. I also want to point out that Samuel has played very cagey with his utility units, and he has 15 Blood Claws and 10 Hounds of Mordecai, just like chilling in ruins.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere.
You mentioned in the last round that when you find yourself in this position where if things continue as they are, somebody just has more points, the other person has to break serve. You said the most easy way for a person to lose that position when they shouldn't is by overextending. And he has absolutely not done that. He has identified that these aggressors, this may be he feels it's necessary to put them up, or it could be that he is setting them up as a distraction unit so the Terminator player can't make a decision to go do anything else. He has to kill these aggressors now. He's not sending anything else out of the middle of that table because he doesn't have to.
Right.
And he's going to ensure that he's not giving up any opportunities for, well, you can still hold your objective and come kill units. We're not going to give you any slingshots, none of that.
Yeah.
He has identified that I can just sit here and I should win the game at this point.
And then he's quickly identified that he should run it headlong as his opponent because he's a Space Wolf player. And as we see, all of them move out of the ruin while we talk about it.
The aggressors are going to Space Wolf. You do not bring aggressors. As someone who loves, I have played 18 aggressors at points.
No, bottom right hand here. Every single model just left the ruin and ran into the middle.
They're not going to get to anything though before because it's turn 4. Right?
Yeah,
so it doesn't like.
They're going for a walk though. They're full of energy. They're getting antsy. They have to be let out.
You have to walk your dog.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing to identify too, right? If you're in this position where the ball is rolling, it looks like you're going to win. You're way up on your opponent in terms of score, and it's the ball's in your opponent's court in order to fight you. You have to start identifying ways that you'd lose the game. And I think the way that Samuel loses the game here is if those Dark Angel Terminators are able to push through the center and get objective secured on his home objectives before the game ends. Right. He does have that raise the banners high ticking up. If he starts to lose those banners and loses his primary objective control, things spiral out of control very quickly. Yeah. And the way to prevent that from happening is put up a bunch of idiot objective secured guys on your objectives and say go, because now the Terminators actually have to kill them all, or at least enough of them to outnumber them on the objectives, and that's very difficult before the game ends at this point.
I feel like there's, if we want to think about the, I guess the game theory in a way, the Warp Ritual failed. It didn't work at the beginning. We got our 3 points, and then we can't do it anymore. We were locked in at 3. I feel like even before that situation happened where the Psyker died, I think there's an argument to be made that Luke should have saw I am losing. That this is up against Rays. This one specifically is probably compared to Rays to who can get that 9, 10, 11 area of points. I am now behind on that. He's getting 2 a turn. I got 0 over 2 turns. That I can't win that direct head-to-head matchup anymore. At which point the question should be, well, if this is the secondary that I need to compete with, I probably need to find a way to stop his Rays from ticking. Yep. And so maybe crashing, sending everything around. It's not what he wants to do. He doesn't want to go places. But at a certain point, he probably needs to identify, I need to go take down a banner, at least one. Or I'm never going to be able to keep up with what he can get.
Yeah.
Because if he keeps 2 banners and I've failed Warp twice, I'm maxed at 9. He's gotten 10 automatically. I'm already losing on secondaries at that point.
Yep.
And I feel like that may have been it looks like our camera's frozen. Oh no, he's just being very still. I feel like that may have been an opportunity to identify a win path that was missed.
Right. Yeah, and part of the difficulty there is that the Dark Angel or the Deathwing specifically game plan is so tepid and so inflexible. I think as is thematically appropriate.
Sure. They're not supposed to.
Yeah, they're literally stubborn. They don't want to change for anyone. Their units are slow and their objectives are.
We have a speeder charging the Terminator.
You got to get that warrior pride there, dude. Got to get that warrior pride. The secondary objectives that they pick are so defensively oriented that even in a situation where in order to try to secure the W, you would have to give up so many points anyway that it's a little bit tough, right? Like if you lose Stubborn Defiance early, you could lose, upwards of 5 or 10 points, and that's brutal. If you overextend and lose your 2 the last targets, you lose 10 to 15 points. And it's an arithmetic of whether or not it's worth trying to go for the 1%er that you get the win versus the 100%er that you get 25 points and your tiebreakers look better.
And we've talked about that over the course of today. If Luke, I've experienced this. It took me a long time to become not. I don't even know if I can say not a sore loser, but a dramatically less sore loser. That's been a point of personal pride of growth for me, is I don't feel like that anymore. But we've all had times like that where you look at games like, I can't win anymore.
Yeah.
What are we playing for? I can't do anything. And these tournaments, if you want to go to these large tournaments, and we said repeatedly today, there is never going to be more than one undefeated person in almost every situation. And so you want you want to play for the pride of how high can I place?
Yep.
And if you're going to lose, what can you do to affect your placing? Are there 25 points that will just maybe bump me into top 8 or top 16 after the event's over? Because I would love to say I top 16 a 200-person event.
Right.
Then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And if that is his plan, I won't knock him for that at all. If he's like, I just want my points for this weekend, totally fine with the way this game played out at that point. All right, so the aggressors have killed 3 of those Terminators. Now, I guess I need to ask this question now. Which ones are stubborn?
I imagine it's that top left.
If the one that we're bleeding now, if we just lost 3 of the stubborn Terminators, that is less good.
Yep. So that secondary, for those who don't know, it's a pretty weird one. But for a while, it was touted as, I think, the best secondary in the game. You choose one objective, and you get an escalating number of points for each battle round that you hold that objective with.
I'm sorry.
So he's just in the land spear going into the other Terminator unit, rolling its attacks with the Tesla-ing 6s, hitting 8 times. Good stuff,
Land
man.
speeder hit 8 times.
Just a casual land speeder, dude. So the every full battle round that you hold it, you get more and more points. Starting at 3, I believe it goes 3, 4, 5, and then or 2, 3, 4, and then caps at 15. But you only it resets the clock if you ever lose that objective or you ever don't hold it with that OPSEC unit. So if your opponent is able to contest that single objective once per game, they could cut you, 5 points or so, and that can be very brutal. But in a situation like this, where your opponent's objective secure is very slow and not very aggressive, then the only downside is that you have to play defensively around that objective.
Yeah, that's where we talked about the opportunity to try to cancel out the warp ritual loss would have been extending out across the table, and these Terminators literally don't want to do that.
Yep. There goes land speeder. Goodbye.
Land speeder died. I don't think that's what anybody cared
Goodbye,
about.
land speeder.
The Spaceful pilot knew what he was getting into there.
Yep. He did it for the pride.
Yeah.
For the warrior pride to get 3 points.
That's such an easy secondary just to add
Secondary's
up
so
over the game.
good, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
None of my Blood Angel secondaries are anywhere near that good.
I know. Yeah, Spaceful's got they got it real good.
Yeah, what is if I could be in your deployment zone and you're not in mine, Blood Angels can get like 12 or 15 that way. That's not really how I want to play a competitive game of 40K.
That's not make 2 charges with anything on the table. Yeah. A little bit different. Slightly less good.
Yeah. All right. I think we're rolling back attacks into the aggressors at this point.
So interestingly, this game, I think, as we maybe foresaw coming, has been played out at a breakneck pace. We have a few scores coming in, but this is very early in the round still.
Yeah.
Brenton Weiss from Team Death or Glory.
Death or Glory, yep.
Undefeated currently. 299 battle points. He dropped a single point over the course of his 3 games.
I have not looked at his list, but let me ask you, when you open and look at it, is it just 6 units of Crisis Suits? Because I think that's what it is.
Do Crisis Bodyguards count?
I think it's 3 Crisis Bodyguards and 3 actual Crisis. And nothing else.
No.
Okay.
It's 2 Crisis Bodyguards and 3 units of Crisis.
His current list that may have been created after the list submission deadline is 6 Crisis units.
Oh my God. And Tau Sept, no less.
I asked him about it because Tom, our team captain, very famous for his aggressive play style. I'm a bit more reserved when I play Tau. Brenton's argument was, well, every time I lose games, it's because they killed my Crisis unit. So what if I just had another Crisis unit for when that one died?
And then he's like, I've lost a game because I lost 2 Crisis units.
Yeah.
What if I had a third?
What if I had 6?
What if I had another one?
So that's what he does.
Yep. So we also have Nick Nanavati back in form, 3-0, 288 battle points so far, playing as Uriani. So Hail of Doom, Craftwood Eldar. I think.
I imagine probably the list he won. Was it Dallas Open last week? I remember the name of the tournament. The one in Texas.
Sure, that sounds right.
It was Texas Open, Dallas Open, something.
Yes.
Yeah. But he did just 8-0 an event with an Eldar list, so I assume it's, if not the same one, similar.
Yep. Yeah, that archetype's very good. Speaking of which, we have Sam Procopio, 3-0 with Blood Angels. There you go. 265 battle points.
That guy might be on stream tomorrow.
I would hope so. Yeah, like running a billion Sanguinary Guard, 3 big units of Sanguinary Guard, an Eradicator squad. Yep. With a big Brick of Death company, as well as a 3-man Aggressor squad. Seems good.
Now, I saw the name at the top of your list. Is that still a perfect score thus far?
Yes.
Okay.
So that one literally just came in. Manic Goody 3-0, 300 battle points, playing Tyranids.
He's playing the bad stuff. The things that don't work after today.
Yeah, the old double Harpy. Very nice.
This is the list that GW released an FAQ for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether or not we still see harpies after the encircle change. I feel like you probably should, although they're like are more failure modes with them after you can't pull them off the table.
My personal thought process on it is, I think Tau still have more than likely the best way to interact with Tyranids in a way that keeps them safe. Like they are the army that can at range do things to Tyranids that matter. If people still want to spam crisis suits, the Harpy is the thing bringing 4 damage.
Yep.
So if you can build it in a way where you feel like you can pick up drones before the Harpy can do its thing, I feel like it's still, if you specifically care about Tau, I feel like a Harpy at least still makes sense, just because 4 damage guns are not exactly commonplace.
Yeah, the even like forgetting everything else about the Harpy, the weapon profile for cost is probably up in the best in the game.
Yeah.
The downside is that the aircraft keyword becomes a liability rather than a benefit as soon as you can't encircle, because it can't hide behind obscuring terrain, which means if, for example, you're playing in a Tau matchup and there's a bunch of friggin' hammerheads over there, you just die if you go second. And that's sad.
The reality is that Tau, if Tau want to kill Harpies, they're going to kill Harpies. They can bring any guns they want to kill any unit in the game. That's in the book. They exist.
We're on War Games live stream there, real quick.
Yeah, I think
he was giving us a little shout out.
But specifically, the Blazers is what
it was. I mean, we look good.
Yeah, that's the nature of Tau. It's probably why a lot of people hate them. Whatever they want to kill, they have a gun to do it. If you want to kill Harpies, you can bring velocity trackers. Like these things exist. There's a bunch of 30-inch range guns. So I agree that there's going to have to be a trade-off of, do you really want to make sure you have something that can kill a crisis suit on the first turn, if that's something you care about, or would you rather just be able to control your destiny a bit and hide around and play KG in those matchups where it's going to be difficult anyway?
Yeah, absolutely.
But player by player decision of that, that's the meta we want, where you have to make those decisions and they have an impact on your games.
Yep, 100%.
All right. Surprisingly, we don't have a lot of updates right now, but it does appear that the Centurions have moved forward.
Yeah, we're getting down to it. We are moving into bottom of 5 right here. It looks like things are just closing out, actually. They just scored out bottom round 5 scoring. We've gotten a 13 on engaged on all fronts. Unfortunately, that land speeder going down, I think, it did score the 3 on Warrior Pride that turn. It did cost a couple points for Samuel. And then we got that 10 on Raise the Banners High, I think, as we anticipated. Although you could probably drop a banner in the center, right? And then score that one out as well.
I assume he must have by now.
Yeah. It doesn't look like we've scored it. But either way, it's going to be a pretty decisive win for Samuel and the Space Wolves. I don't know if that score's entirely correct because we've overscored on our primary, right?
Yeah. The Space Wolf player or Dark Angel player definitely has 66.
Yeah, we're down. It looks like we're down 10. So it should be a 66 to 90, and maybe a couple more in there if we do score that center banner.
Yeah.
And I think we might be pushing for a big charge here to try to get a Warrior Pride on the bottom round 5.
I feel like this may be some Warrior Pride charge.
Yeah.
That there's not much other reason to do this beside Pride.
That secondary is so good. Yeah. It's so good.
I would love to have that as a Bludgeons player.
I think every faction would love to have that secondary. Yeah. And especially in a faction where you have access to Storm Speeders and 15-point Cyberwolves, it's like almost automatic. It's so good.
Throw whatever you want away.
Very solid. Nergo Matthew in chat, what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Big thanks to everybody who hung out with us all day today. Smadix in chat as well.
Yeah, they're this game is in the waning hours for sure. But we're not done. We have 67% of our tournament left.
I know, it's so exciting.
This is we're not even halfway yet, guys. We have 3 more games tomorrow, and then a top 8 on Sunday. Which, based on what we're seeing at the top of the standings right now, we got to have fun today. We got to see stuff that people like to watch, stuff we don't see often. The heavy hitters are coming.
Well, we will have fun once we start looking at Harpies shooting each other for a while. I guess
when Tyranids kill each other, everybody wins.
It's true. Yeah. Not even the Tyranids are sad about that.
Everyone's biomass is biomass.
Right. It was just recycle, you know. It just,
They're just going green.
It's all biomass. It just turns into a different form. We also have Jared Vale. He's a local of mine, actually, moving to 3-0 with Pure Harlequins as well. I'd like to see some pure Harlequins on the stream. Also,
Harlequins are that may have been the match that we almost had on the stream this round. We almost had Dark Angels, or I'm sorry, Harlequins versus Drukari.
ooh,
But as I have stated before on streams, I am an elf racist, and
can't tell the difference.
Giving the opportunity to have elves or not elves, I chose the not elves. So
I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunities to see Harlequins and Eldari or Asyriani on the stream over the rest of the weekend.
they are not going away.
Yep. They're going to stick around.
I expect tomorrow at some point, whether we like it or not, we're going to see some Tau.
Absolutely.
We're going to see some Eldar. We're going to see some Tyranids.
Yep.
I hope we get to see other things too. Blood Angels. I want to see these off meta things where people are coming after the meta list. I want to see them pay off. So I want to see these Blood Angels list. I want to see things like the Space Wolves coming in for Tyranids. I want to see that play out. Oh.
Looks like they are they're closing things out.
Yeah.
A resounding 103-point win for Samuel there.
I believe that's 95.
So we did score out that remaining Raise the Banner in the center. So 13 points on Raise the Banners. Two Deathwing units for the last surviving. So 10 points for Luke. And that Warrior Pride maxing out as well for Samuel. Billy Pulp, thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone who subbed this game.
Yeah,
we had a bunch of subs. Really help support
really
the channel.
Appreciate you guys sticking with us. We got to the magic number, Trevi.
Hey, 69 viewers.
That is nice.
Nice. That's nice.
So we appreciate you guys, and we hope first round is going to start at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Really hope you guys come back and hang out with us. It's gonna get brutal. I do not think that Korn's table will lose its effect overnight. I think there's more blood to shed tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. I think hopefully we see similarly bloody games as we have seen today. Starting with that interesting Bloody Corn Demons versus Bloody Rose. And then capping it off with another melee mirror match with his Deathwing Terminators versus Space Wolves.
Korn is happy.
He's having a good time.
Yeah. Korn may be here. This may be Korn's influence.
Oh, yeah? Oh, my God.
Oh, wait, no,
Your judges do wear red shirts.
Someone had grilled Korn. That was my bad.
Oh,
There
you
was
got the
grilled corn
confused. It was it was Corn on the Cob actually.
Yeah,
is
that was
what
my bad. That's my bad.
Understandable.
Yeah.
That's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you take a Korn on the Cob and you do like the chili powder on it, it basically looks the same.
Right. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, all right, chat. We enjoyed you today. We hope you enjoyed us. Trevi, been an absolute pleasure today, sir, and I look forward to doing it again 2 more days.
Absolutely. I'm
right.
having a great time, and I'm excited for 48 more hours of great time to be had.
All right, chat. We will see you bright and early tomorrow at 9 o'clock.